Thank you guys. Oh, that's gonna be annoying. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, I'm not doing the intro right now because this is the third time that I've tried live streaming and it stopped all by itself for no reason. So I'm just trying to read the book. Today we're reading The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. It is a very in-depth, descriptive, and eloquently written book. And we're on page 6 right now. You can listen to page 1 through 5 in the previous video. If you go to my channel and click on playlists, there will be a playlist called All Live. And there you will see a video that says bedtime stories. That's about 50 minutes. The first one is like 40 minutes. That's me just talking, pretty much. And 20 minutes of it is not anything, not even me talking. The second one, though, is 50 minutes long, and it's about 5 pages. So, let's continue, shall we? Following the trial, the Lindberghs left America, hopping through a temporary expatriation to protect a new Lindbergh infant from harm and to recover some measure of the privacy they coveted. The family moved to a small village in England, and from there, as a private citizen, Lindbergh began taking the trips to Nazi Germany. Here's my question. Is Nazi Germany a place? Is that a thing? Because I just thought it was Germany. Like, I always thought that when they say Nazi Germany, they were talking about all of Germany at the time that the Nazis were pretty much running Germany. But I'm kind of curious if Nazi Germany is like a town or a, what's it called? A county or something. But at the same time, if there was a town called Nazi Germany, I don't think that Germany would still keep it as that town. They probably would have like changed it to a different name. Not sure. You never know. Lindbergh began taking the trips to Nazi Germany. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Lindbergh began taking the trips to Nazi Germany. That would transform him into a villain for most American Jews. Haven't had a water break in a minute. In the course of his 5 visits, during which he was able to familiarize himself at first hand with the magnitude of the German war machine, he ostentatiously entertained by Air Marshal Goring. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. How do you pronounce the O that has 2 dots above it? That looks like a shocked face. How do you pronounce that? Göring. Maybe it's Göring. He was ceremoniously decorated in the name of the Führer. I don't know how to pronounce the U with two dots above it either. And he expressed quite openly his high regard for Hitler, calling Germany the world's most interesting nation, and its leader a great man. And all this interest and admiration after Hitler's 1935 racial laws had denied Germany's Jews their civil, social, and property rights, nullified their citizenship, and forbidden intermarriage with Aryans. By the time I began school in 1938, Lindbergh was a name that provoked the same sort of indignation in our house as did the weekly Sunday radio broadcasts of Father Coughlin, the Detroit area priest who edited a right-wing weekly called Social Justice, and whose anti-Semitic virulence aroused the passions of a sizable audience during the country's hard times. It was in November 1938, the darkest, most ominous year for the Jews of Europe in 18 centuries, that the worst pogrom in modern history, Kristallnacht, was instigated by the Nazis all across Germany. Synagogues incinerated, the residences and businesses of Jews destroyed, and throughout the night, presaging the monstrous future. And throughout a night, presaging the monstrous future, Jews by the thousands forcibly taken from their homes and transported to concentration camps. It was suggested to Lindbergh that in response to this unprecedented savagery, perpetuated by a state on its own native born, he might consider returning the gold cross, decorated with 4 swastikas, bestowed upon him in behalf of the Führer by Air Marshal Göring. He declined on the grounds that for him to publicly surrender the service cross of the German Eagle would constitute an unnecessary insult to the Nazi leadership. Think about that. Swastikas used to be used for peace. I heard about that. I don't know how relevant it is, but I heard about that. Do you think that's why Hitler chose that symbol, that sign? Because he believed whether he truly believed it or not, he had projected that he was finding the finest of fine genetics by weeding through the bad apples, ending in peace. Because when there's a war and there's a winner of the war, that means the other team was eradicated. Probably would bring peace to everybody. That's crazy, because there's nothing telling them that they're crazy anymore, because they all think the same way. Lindbergh was the first famous living American whom I learned to hate, just as President Roosevelt was the first famous living American whom I was taught to love. And so his nomination by the Republicans to run against Roosevelt in 1940 assaulted as nothing ever had before that huge endowment of personal security that I had taken for granted as an American child of American parents in an American school, in an American city, in an America at peace with the world. The only comparable threat had come some 13 months earlier, when, on the basis of consistently high sales through the worst of the Depression as an agent with the Newark office of Metropolitan Life, my father had been offered a promotion to assistant manager in charge of agents at the company's office 6 miles west of our house in Union, a town whose only distinction I knew of was a drive-in theater where movies were shown even when it rained, and where the company expected my father and his family to live if he took the job. As an assistant manager, my father could soon be making $75 a week, and over the coming years, as much as $100 a week. A fortune in 1939. To people with our expectations, a fortune in 1939 to people with our expectations. And since there were one family houses selling in Union for a depression low of a few $1,000s, he would be able to realize an ambition he had nurtured growing up penniless in a Newark tenement flat, to become an American homeowner. Pride of ownership was a favorite phrase of my father's, embodying an idea real as bread to a man of his background. One having to do not with social competitiveness or conspicuous consumption, but with his standing as a manly provider. I can understand that. Well, I understand the sentiment. I can never understand making that much, because now $100 will get you something cool, a little knick-knack. Back then, $100 was rent. $100 was keeping you alive for the next 4 months if you had to live off of it. Because $1 was worth like, what, 3 ounces of gold or something like that? A pound of gold? Not a pound of gold. $1 wasn't worth a pound. It might have been. Maybe it was an ounce of gold. I know it was worth something. Now it's paper. It was just paper then. It was just paper then. Now, it's play money. It's just paper. Doesn't stop it from being useful, but it's paper. 1 second, I'm looking for something. Alright, well, I officially have absolutely no idea where it's at. But that's fine. We're gonna keep reading. We're gonna read probably to page 15, maybe page 20. I don't know. We'll read until this is at like... Well, it's 11:30 right now. We'll read for another 30 minutes. How about that? We'll read for another 30 minutes. The single drawback was that because Union, like Hillside, was a Gentile working class town, my father would most likely be the only Jew in office of some 35 people. My mother, the only Jewish woman on our street, and Sandy, and I, the only Jewish kids in our school. On the Saturday after my father was offered the promotion, a promotion that, above all, would answer a depression family's yearning for a tiny margin of financial security, the 4 of us headed off after lunch to look around Union. But once we were there and driving up and down the residential streets, peering out the 2-story houses. Not quite identical, but each nonetheless with a screened front porch and a mown lawn and a piece of shrubbery and a cinder drive leading to a 1-car garage. Very modest houses, but still roomier than our 2-bedroom flat. And looking a lot like the little white houses in the movies about small town salt of the earth America. Once we were there, our innocent buoyancy about family, or our innocent buoyancy about the family's accent into the home owning. Once we were there, our innocent buoyancy about the family ascent into the home owning class was supplanted, predictably enough, by our anxieties about the scope of Christian charity. My ordinarily energetic mother responded to my father's, "What do you think, Bess?" with enthusiasm that even a child understood to be fiend. I don't think I'm saying that right. The word is Feigned. And I don't think I'm saying this right, but I have no idea how to say that. Feigned. Now, feigned I've heard before. Feigned I understand. I know what that means. Okay. With enthusiasm that even a child understood to be feigned. And young as I was able to summarize why. Because she was thinking, ours will be the house where the Jews live. It'll be Elizabeth all over again. Elizabeth, New Jersey. When my mother was being raised there in a flat over her father's grocery store, was an industrial port a quarter size of Newark, dominated by the Irish working class and their politicians. And the tightly knit parish life that revolved around the town's many churches. And though I never heard her complain of having been pointedly ill-treated in Elizabeth as a girl, it was not until she married and moved to Newark's new Jewish neighborhood that she discovered the confidence that led her to become the first PTA grade mother. Then a PTA vice president, in charge of establishing a kindergarten mothers club, and finally the PTA president, who, after attending a conference in Trenton on infantile paralysis, proposed, it's another word for maternal leave, proposed an annual March of Dimes dance on January 30th, President Roosevelt's birthday. That was accepted by most Newark schools in the spring of 1939. By most Newark schools. In the spring of 1939, she was in her second successful year as a leader with progressive ideas, already supporting a young social studies teacher keen on bringing visual education into chancellor's classrooms. And now, she couldn't help but envision herself bereft of all that had been achieved by her becoming a wife and a mother on Summit Avenue. Should we have the good fortune to buy and move into a house on any of the Union streets, we were seeing at their springtime best, not only would her status slip back to what it had been when she was growing up, the daughter of a Jewish immigrant grocer in Irish Catholic Elizabeth, but worse than that, Sandy and I would be obligated to relive her own circumscribed youth as a neighborhood outsider. Despite my mother's mood, my father did everything he could to keep up our spirits, remarking on how clean and well kept everything looked, reminding Sandy and me that living in one of these houses, the two of us would no longer have to share a small bedroom and a single closet, and explaining the benefits to be derived from paying off a mortgage rather than paying rent. A lesson in elementary economics that abruptly ended when it was necessary for him to stop the car at a red light because a park-like drinking establishment dominating one corner. That word wasn't because, was it? Nope, sure wasn't. Hold up. A lesson in elementary economics that abruptly ended when it was necessary for him to stop the car at a red light beside a park-like drinking establishment dominating one corner of the intersection. There were green picnic tables set out beneath the shade trees, full of foliage, and on this sunny weekend afternoon, there were waiters in braided white coats moving swiftly about, balancing trays. Laden with bottles and pitchers and plates, and men of every age gathered at each of the tables, smoking cigarettes and pipes and cigars and drinking deeply from tall beakers and earthenware mugs. There was music too, an accordion being played by a stout little man in short pants and high socks who wore a hat ornamented with a long feather. Hey. My father said, "Fascist bastards." And then the light changed, and we drove on in silence to look at the office building where he was about to get his chance to earn more than $50 a week. It was my brother who, when we went to bed that night, explained why my father had lost control and cursed aloud in front of his children. The hominy acre of open air merriment smack in the middle of town was called a beer garden. The beer garden had something to do with the German-American Bund. The German-American Bund had something to do with Hitler. And Hitler, as I hadn't to be told, had everything to do with persecuting Jews. In the intoxicant of anti-Semitism, or the intoxicant of anti-Semitism, that's what I came to imagine them all so cheerfully drinking in their beer garden that day. Like all the Nazis everywhere, downing pint after pint of anti-Semitism, as though imbibing the universal remedy. My father had to take off a morning of work to go over to the home office in New York, to the tall building whose uppermost tower was crowned with the beacon his company proudly designated the light that never fails, and inform the superintendent of agencies that he couldn't accept the promotion he longed for. My father had to take a morning off of work to go over to the home office in New York, to the tall buildings whose uppermost tower was crowned with the beacon his company proudly designed, not designated. Nope, it's designated, my fault. Proudly designated the light that never fails, and inform the superintendent of agencies that he couldn't accept the promotion he longed for. It's my fault, announced my mother, as soon as he began to recount at the dinner table what had transpired there on the 18th floor of First Madison Avenue. It's nobody's fault, my father said. I explained before I left what I was going to tell him, and I went over there and I told him, and that's it. We're not moving to Union, boys. We're staying right here. What did he do? My mother asked. So, I understand not moving to a place where you're going to die. And I only say die because I understand they're in America. If they were somewhere else, it might be worse. But if they weren't in America, like let's say it was the same situation and they were in Mexico. I don't know that anti-Semitism was present in Mexico, but somewhere there's someone that has some group that run on anti-Semitic values. I don't know where, but it's not unlikely that there was one like that in Mexico. But if they were in Mexico, I just think that they would have a lessened likelihood of death, if I'm being honest with you. Because when hateful people in America, which, if you think about it, America wasn't really created on hate. And really, honestly, if I think about it, Mexico is a bad example, because if you go to Mexico, you probably die now for no reason, let alone because of anti-Semitic reasons. Okay, so let's try Canada. Canada's a pretty cool place. But besides the point, in America, it wasn't raised on, or wasn't created. It was raised on hate for sure. It wasn't created on hate. It was created on like discomfort. It was created on revolution, but it wasn't created on hate. You know what I mean? It was, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It was through hate. Bluntly, it was through hate that America became what it is now. If that makes sense. I feel like anybody anti-Semitic is probably pretty strong in their beliefs and their values. But I also feel like they wouldn't go out of their way to end a life. You know, I feel like they will now because they saw what Hitler did and what he was doing. But I feel like it was a bit different back then. And that being in America, in the place of immigrants, New York, was a big factor, I feel like, in his decision to not take the job. I also have absolutely no education on this. Not no education, but I don't have much education on this. And I probably should educate myself on this and other things. I need to educate. I really unironically said educate. That is wild. That is so wild. I really do need to educate myself, though. But I think that the way he said downing pint after pint of anti-Semitic intoxicant, that's deep, bro. Like, I mean, this is deep. Like, you're talking about ending lives. Like, this is deep. That is deep, though. To be 9, maybe 7 to 10 years old, thinking about that type of energy being consumed by a group of people, that's gotta be troubling. Like, that's gotta be like deeply uncomfortable to even think about, let alone be around. You know what I mean? I don't know. I really like this author. I think that me reading the reviews definitely have something to do with it. But I also think that this author is worth his salt. I'm not really sure why the mother said it's my fault, though. That's what I don't get. Because he saw them, and I mean, maybe her voice in the way that she said it was confirmation, like, okay, you know, we really shouldn't be here. Maybe that's one thing. That was kind of like, okay, I understand this now. But I feel like it was more them. So I think that that's foreshadowing of some kind for something. That she said it's my fault. I feel like there's something deeper in that. And maybe not. But I've never read this book. There's a lot. And I do mean not a lot. There's a couple. There's a few. There's a few words in here that I need to look up and I will bring back to you guys, because I definitely don't know what they mean. Like, I understand the general idea because they taught us context clues in school, but I don't like know how to put it into context. Which, honestly, why would they try and teach you to look at different? I mean, I guess never mind. I'm not gonna go about that. Never mind. Anyway, I can't say I relate to this book because I didn't grow up in the 60s or 70s, and I also did not necessarily have too many strongfully ill-willed racial encounters. Strongfully negative ill-willed, or ill-will is negative. Strongfully negative racial encounters in my life. I can't say that I have. I can say that I have witnessed. I can say that I have been close to, been around for sure. But to be directly or indirectly a victim or a possible like threat target, can't say that I have been. But I do relate to this book in the sense of being in a place of comfortability and going from that to being an outcast. And even the place of comfortability isn't even somewhere you necessarily want to be. Because, I mean, the kid seems happy, you know? But the parents don't seem like they are where they think they should be, where they want to be. So I understand being in a place of, I'm okay here, but I'm just okay here. And I also understand being in a place of, this ain't feeling right. On like a racial level. And while I haven't grown up in the 60s and 70s, and I haven't been the direct target of any strongfully ill-willed racial encounter, I definitely did and currently still am a growing black person in North America. And that's a little bit of a toll no matter where you are in North America. Like, Mexico is dangerous. I mean, I've never been there, and people go there and visit. And I feel like people on the outside of the country, in different countries, very often and purposefully make other countries look dangerous so that people don't leave. And on top of that, Canada's cool, right? People talk about Canadians being super nice all the time. But if you thought you were going to die and someone's been nice to you and friendly, helped you out, given you things, you wouldn't think it would come from them, would you? Food for thought. Just saying. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the stream. Thank you so much for indulging with me. I really, really appreciate it. I really do. We didn't get to burn any sage, or not any sage. We didn't get to burn any incense or anything. But this is a great start to a good book. I'm going to read over it again and find the words, bring it back to you guys, and give you the definitions and things like that, because I need to do it. And I don't know if you guys know them, which you probably do, because there's enough people out there where you could find anything like that. You know what I mean? We all have the internet, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm definitely gonna go over this and come back to you guys for sure. But yeah, I think that we're going to wrap this up by burning some incense and maybe taking some, eating some snacks, taking some drink. And I'll do the outro. But we're definitely going to burn some incense first. So, give me a second. Let me turn off my fan. You can go get yours ready. Get your matches ready. I don't know if anybody uses matches anymore, for real. One second, guys. Alright, alright, alright. Even though you carry your side. Ugh. All right, here we go. Look at the red dress. Okay, well, that didn't work. So we're gonna put this down, and we're gonna put this on top of it. I lied. We're gonna put it next to it, and we're gonna light the wood stick. That is what we're going to do. That was kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. That was kind of scary. Whew. I really hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed the storytelling. I hope that possibly some of you have even fallen asleep, going to bed, because you need to. I need to, for real. But you need to. Sleeping is good for you. The first match doesn't light, and I don't know why. This is super weird. I think I will sufficiently need at least 3 every time now. Okay, well, I'm just going to light you off of here. And put you right there. Wow, you really don't want to light, huh? Well, that one's done. This one has yet to be started because these matches are being very interessante, to say the least. I just need you to burn and set everything else on fire. You're not going to do that, are you? No? Okay, cool. This is what we're going to do now. We're going to start with the matches and put like a teepee or something around them and then just light the matches. That's what we're going to do. You know, I saw this video once that said, what's the point of matches if you have to use a lighter to light them? And I think that this is where this idea directly came from, because this is the first time I've ever lit matches with a lighter, ever. That fire is like ridiculously close to I think I turned fire spreads off or something, because this is just, it's lighting, but then it'll go out. It's a gaming joke if you guys don't get it. That's wild. This one just doesn't want to burn. I'm gonna have to get a blowtorch. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna run up to the gas station and get a blowtorch. So we've burned one successfully, and I'm gonna say that for for the purposes of time and convenience, that is gonna have to be enough. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much to all of my ghosts, gremlins, ghouls, goblins, and dreamers, because we all know that there's no in between. You're either a good guy or a bad guy, or you're somewhere in between. Thank you so much. Put away your popcorn. Make sure to snuggle up tighter with your snuggie, your honey, and your tea. Put away your drinks. Make sure to go to the bathroom before you go to sleep. Maybe put on some relaxing music or something. And I will catch you in your dreams. See ya.